And Max, I think you have a bit of skepticism potentially with his role in the NFL. Can you
Well, I mean,
explain
just if you're covering anyone journalistically, of course you have to be skeptical or cynical at least about their stated purposes. And he has, obviously, he wants to own a team eventually. And so you wonder, he has great executive skills, JayZ. It is unclear to me, Professor, whether this situation with Kaepernick is JayZ playing Goodell, Goodell playing JayZ, they're both playing Kaepernick, or something like someone doesn't come in and change the world all at once. JayZ is going to profit as he makes some kind of a marginal change, and then the next person can make more of a change, and so on. But the truth of the matter, if there is one, is unclear to me.
When Jesse Jackson was involved in the civil rights movement at his height, we know he's still an iconic figure. He would often protest outside, force them. Texaco had a horrible situation where a tape was released about black people that was stigmatizing them with the N-word. He was outside with a protest sign. Then when Texaco said, let us shift strategies and try to talk, he came inside and negotiated. The consequence was more than $100 million for those particular employees. Now, it didn't always end up that way, but Jesse Jackson always had it. Messy Jesse. He's in it for himself. How much is he on the take for? How much is he getting? He changed the landscape for African-American business people in terms of Nike, in terms of car industries, in terms of a range of corporate arrangements. It is always messy. It is never neat. And
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Not only that, but when you're trying to parse the difference between, is it JayZ, is it Goodell, the fact that you're raising that question means that JayZ has had an impact. You weren't asking this question before JayZ got involved. Roger Goodell and the NFL did not extend the possibility of a tryout to Kaepernick before JayZ's presence.
Well,
so I say, empirically, we have to look at it and say there's at least a strong influence that he has had.
I have to come to a very important question that I wanted to ask you because I've been thinking about this for a while. By the way, Fox just recently announced that their Super Bowl ads are sold out. $5.6 million per 30 seconds. That's a JayZ impact, some would argue, even though the Super Bowl obviously is as popular as it is.
Right.
What I would ask you is this. On many occasions, you brought up the Reverend Jesse Jackson,
Right.
Al Sharpton,
Right.
a plethora of people, whether it's the Congressional Black Caucus, there's other black figures throughout the United States of America. I get phone calls from all of these people because they know that I have a daily platform to address issues. And the reason why they would call somebody like me is because they don't have the platform that I have.
Right.
When we think about JayZ and his relationship, this partnership with the NFL, I go back to that. Clearly, as Molly alluded to, you're in the room.
Right.
And you're in the room to make a difference.
Right.
From a historical perspective, which you are far more qualified to speak about than I, you know for a fact that there are many, many people in our community throughout history where it was clear, there was a clear definition of their role. Some would be in front of the cameras, some would be behind the cameras.
Absolutely.
And it was gamesmanship, strategy,
Absolutely.
et cetera, et cetera. Explain to me why you think that that was ignored when it came to the criticism of JayZ and so many others. Could you explain that?
Well, Gore Vidal, the late great writer, said we live in the United States of amnesia. So people are addicted to forgetfulness. We forget. The point you're making is extremely valuable. And Barbara Streisand said, what's too painful to remember, we simply choose to forget. So part of it is the pain, the trauma that has been delivered to us, body blows endured for the struggle. But you're so right. When it comes to JayZ, we have forgotten that lesson. And let me tell you another lesson, given what you just said. Martin Luther King Jr. was bested by his white opponent in 1961 in Albany, Georgia, named Laurie Pritchard, who was a sheriff. And he said, look, I'm not going to do what these other fools have done. I'm not going to beat you up. I'm going to be nonviolent when I arrest you, and I'm going to separate you so you can't come together and strategize. It was ingenious. 2 years later, King, learning from that, applied the lesson in Birmingham where he used strategy. Let me see. If we allow them to unleash water hoses and police dogs on us, at the news time, America will be mortified by what they see. It was theater. It was strategy. Furthermore, Martin Luther King Jr., he was not the only one. SNCC, other organizations, John Lewis, they got in a room. And King's staff would argue like cats and dogs. No, you're a SOB. No, you're wrong. No, you're crazy. No, this is not how it should be. In other words, they were the loyal opposition to King. They fought against his ideas and beliefs so he could be sharpened. I wish that people would understand that there's an inside-outside game and that there is a need for, even on Mr. Kaepernick's part, and you know from my appearances, my last 3 books, I've defended him. I think he's righteous. I think what he has done is amazing. I think the opposition against him from the NFL is egregious. What I also understand is there is a need for strategy. Colin Kaepernick should be in a room with other people being the loyal opposition. There's a different way you might do it. Earlier people like in earlier African-American generations would say, don't go in with a Kunta Kinte shirt, go in with a Disney shirt. Put a big smile on your face and go, hey, boys and girls, how are you? And then get inside and be like a Trojan horse and like Samson being led into the building and knock the pillars down. It's a different strategy. It's not a critique. It's saying, though, you must use strategy no matter who you are. And the more righteous your cause, the more you have to enable yourself to see what the opposition will be, know that they will never be just to you, and then fight them with all of your energy.
How much of that is because, you know, in the social media clickbait world, as polarized as everything is, it's turned into a football game. You're either with us or against us, right?
Yeah.
That nuance is lost.
Cancel culture is
and you want your little shot of righteous indignation.
Right.
You either agree or disagree.
Right.
With Stephen A. or me on a sports topic, that's trivial.
Right.
But on more important issues on social media, on Twitter or Instagram, I'm outraged. I hate this person.
Right.
And so nuance is lost.
Nuance is extremely lost. It's marginalized, and we don't have the understanding. If Martin Luther King Jr. were here today, he would be canceled 50 times a day. They would call him a sellout a time. In fact, they called him a sellout in the time. Why? Because he liked silk pajamas. So the younger people would say, that's the Lord behind his back. Oh, this is a guy who made $240,000 in 1961. Don't you know? That's good money now. Imagine what it was back then. He gave most of it to the civil rights movement except $10,000. He gave all of his book royalties to his own school. This man literally had 4 kids and a wife to support on $10,000, borrowed money from his father every year to pay his taxes, but yet he was being called a sellout. He was being called because he liked silk pajamas. Yes, it is the lack of nuance, perspective, complicated analysis.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.